In the country where you live, what would be the equivalent of losing Notre Dame? We lost our Primarch in Belfast about 6 months ago. Equally as upsetting for the nation apparently. Korea experienced its equivalent 11 years ago. Namdaemun, the oldest wooden structure in Seoul, is one of the 8 gates in the city's fortress wall. It was completed in 1398 and originally used to greet foreign emissaries, control access to the capital city, and keep out Siberian tigers. It was designated as Korea's first national treasure in 1938. In February 2008, a fire broke out and roared out of control, destroying the structure despite the efforts of more than 360 firefighters. Many witnesses reported seeing a suspicious man shortly before the fire, and 2 disposable lighters were found where the fire was believed to have started. A man was arrested on suspicion of arson and later confessed to spraying paint thinner on the floor of the structure and then setting fire to it. He was upset about not being paid in full for land he had sold to developers. Namdaemun was reopened 5 years later after a $14 million restoration project, the most expensive in Korean history. Probably if anything happened to Edinburgh Castle. In the UK we've celebrated how the Houses of Parliament weren't blown up for over 400 years. So probably them, I reckon. Having said that, York Minster had a bad fire in 1984. Weirdly, there are experts in the restoration of burnt-down cathedrals in the world, and they've now got work for the next decade. The Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam. Losing the Dome in Cologne or in Aachen. That would be an extreme tragedy. Hagia Sophia. That would rank right up there with Notre Dame. Fools. We have nothing worth burning down. Our Prime Minister basically lives in a cabin in the tallest building around is a chain hotel. Taj Mahal edit. On second thought, as the replies pointed out, Taj Mahal would be more equivalent to the Eiffel Tower. The Notre Dame equivalent is probably the Golden Temple. Edit 2. There's plenty of other examples you could think of really. India has a heck of a lot of historical buildings, mostly religious, like Jama Masjid, Varanasi Temple, or Velankani Church etc. It would be hard to pick really. Probably the Dimsdale Dimmadome. We already lost one of our oldest museums recently. In that museum there was the oldest human skull found in the Americas. Oh, forgot to mention. It caught fire. Brazil. Iraq. We already lost the Assyrian statues due to ISIS. But also the fucking Hammurabi Constitution. It's in damn France and I'm scared they'll burn it. Well, it wouldn't be a building, since nothing even hits 200 years in Canada. I'd say the only thing remotely comparable for us as far as reverence and religious value would be Lord Stanley's Cup. I'd say some of super old trees, like the great sequoias in California or the Methuselah tree. Maybe losing the Temple of Bacchus in Baalbek, built 2,000 years ago, or the Hippodrome in Tyre, 2,000 years old, or the Phoenician Wall in Betroun, predates even the Greek Empire, or the Byblos Citadel, from the Crusaders, or the oldest cedar tree, 3,000 years old. Jesus may have very well touched that tree or planted others that are 1,000 years younger, as he has walked among and talked of these very cedar trees according to the Bible. Really, if you destroy anything, you're likely to be destroying something historical. This is in Lebanon, by the way. I'm Irish. Skip this paragraph if you don't want background information. But in 1916 we basically had a war, so we could get independence from England, and the Irishmen were basically around, in the GPO. General Post Office. When you visit it, you can see tons of bullet marks in it, and it really makes you think about what all the men had to go through back then. TLDR. The GPO. Dublin. Seeing the White House on fire would be pretty terrifying. Political jokes and snark aside, the building is iconic and it houses a ton of art and archives from our country and every president. I don't think it's as important a building as Notre Dame from a historical aspect. But as far as things that are immediately identifiable with America, I can't think of any other building that symbolizes a nation like Notre Dame symbolizes France. I haven't seen this yet, but the Met. America may be young, but the artwork in the Met represents thousands of years of world history. It would be a comparable tragedy to losing Notre Dame. As far as emotional significance to the country though, the National Archives, losing the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and Bill of Rights would be utterly shocking for America. Maybe not the historic value, but as a major symbol in the country, the Twin Towers are definitely something special we lost. Momentous buildings at the heart of the country, let alone the massive amount of lives ruined with that. The Forbidden City in Beijing, capital of China. Hundreds of years of history. Canadian here. We don't have anything remotely as old or as culturally significant. I could talk about the CN Tower or Niagara Falls or various locations and buildings that are old or tourist-wise, but I think for impact to the entire country it would be something that would be considered funny to non-Canadians. Tim Hortons bankruptcy. Montreal losing their hockey team this year, the Calgary Stampede ending. Probably the Library of Congress burning down. It's a huge landmark, and because there are no politicians there, it would be universally mourned. For Mexico, I'd say Palacio de Bellas Artes. But I'm not really sure how it could be destroyed. It's made of marble and it's survived some of the worst earthquakes to ever hit Mexico. Probably the ancient passage grave at New Grange on the River Boyne. It was constructed by the Celts 6,000 years ago, and a beam of sunlight still shines directly into the burial chamber at dawn on the winter solstice each year. For Iceland, I think it wouldn't be building but a one area, which is Thingvellir. Thingvellir. This place has a significant meaning where the first national parliament of Iceland was created. There in the year 930 and was held there until the end of 1700. Reading about the place on Wikipedia would probably give a better understanding what this place means for Icelandic culture. Well, here in New Zealand we have this tree right up the top of the country down from the light house at Cape Reinga. It's a pohutu kawa tree, which is extremely significant to Maori culture. I know that it's a tree and not a building, but if that gets burnt down, oh man, that won't be good. It's a very, very sacred tree where the spirits of dead go. The temples of Bacchus and Jupiter in Lebanon. Some of the oldest and most well-preserved Roman temples. Canada is in the process of losing our wilderness to climate change. This will be a devastating loss to our national identity and way of life. I don't think Canadians truly understand how the ability to get out in wild places defines us. Christchurch Cathedral is probably the closest for New Zealand, which is why the question of whether it should be rebuilt or a new cathedral constructed has been such an emotive one since the earthquake. The Sears Tower. Or while it isn't as iconic, the Navy Pier Ferris wheel on fire would leave people awestruck.
Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe to support the channel.